Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. And welcome to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor and Stress to Logic, your host. And today I have John Goodman, who is running for office. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. What office are you running for?
I'm running for United States Senate here in Illinois. Dick Durbin's one currently sitting in it. I was the only candidate that's out there that was willing to take the fight to him before he dropped out. He said he's not going to run again. I like to make the joke that filed in February and then late March, early April, he said he isn't going to run again. I'm not saying he got scared, but that was the timeline of events. So
the humor in that is so perfect. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'd roll with that one. Can you just tell people about yourself? What's your personal origin story? What have you done career-wise? How did you get to where you are today?
I have a very broad background, which is actually, I think, helps me in this because I'm not a career politician. I'm just a guy. I tell people that. I'm just a guy. I'm what the Founding Fathers wanted. So I joined the military right out of high school. I was a cop in the Air Force. Security forces in the Air Force, they do law enforcement, they do security, they do air-based ground defense. They're kind of the jack of all trades. I did anti-terrorism for a while. I done customs. I mean, if you think of it, I've probably done it. After 12 years, I ended my career at F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming, doing security for our nuclear arsenal. And I got out and I went to the University of Colorado Boulder. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. While I was at the University of Colorado Boulder, I was going for a degree in molecular cellular developmental biology. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I found out I had PTSD while I was there, and I didn't know. So I was, how most colleges have like a common area, like with the bookstore
Right.
and like restaurants and stuff. I was in the bathroom and I was exiting the bathroom, and some poor 18-year-old kid opened the bathroom doors. I was reaching for the handle, and it scared me. I took a swing at him, and I was like, whoa, that's not a normal reaction. Now, I didn't, actually hit the kid. Afterwards, I was like, I need to do something about this because this is not normal. So I went to talk to a mental health provider, and they're like, yeah, you have PTSD. I was like, what? The military, at least when I was in, was somewhat hyper-masculinized, and it wasn't really looked at favorably to go to a mental health provider. But I was like, you know what, I want to address this. And she suggested that I look into getting a service dog. So there weren't a whole lot of resources out there when I got out of the military for veterans with PTSD. So I used a school loan to go and pay for my service dog. She passed about a year and a half ago. My life and career kind of took a different path after that. I decided to open up a nonprofit doing service dogs for veterans with PTSD. It was called Scars and Stripes. I opened it down in Tennessee, and I grew it regionally down there. And while doing so, I went back to school, got my business degree, and after a couple years, it wasn't financially viable anymore. There was a whole lot of verbal support. Oh, I love what you're doing. That's great. But I'll be 100% honest. I wasn't the best fundraiser. I was better at running the operations. And so I couldn't keep it open. And I moved up to Chicago. I was the director of security at the Swiss Hotel, downtown Chicago. A beautiful luxury hotel, and was there for 3-4 years. COVID happened, and I got laid off. We went from 250 employees down to 17. I was the last one they laid off. I went up to Minnesota with Hilton, and I get up there, and they're like, oh yeah, we forgot to tell you, the hotel's in receivership. Thanks, guys. After that, my grandparents passed, and they were downstate. I moved back home with my mom to help her settle their estate. They had a big farm, and well, not a big farm, they had a small farm. I helped my mom because she was, distraught, and I was down there about 6 or 9 months, and afterwards I moved back up to Chicagoland, and here's how I got into politics. I've never wanted to be a politician, ever. I was asked to, and I'm a man of my word. I'm going to keep my word, and I'm going to win or lose, I'm going to give it my all. So when I moved back up here to Chicagoland last February, I saw what was going on in the college campuses, and I fought that overseas. I'll fight it here, the pro-Hamas, pro-terror encampments. And some buddies and I went down to DePaul University in Lincoln Park, and we got those pro-Hamas encampments cleared out of there. Since I was a cop, every time I see a cop, I shake their hand because I understand it's an underappreciated job. And on my forearm, I have "We the People" tattooed. The Chicago Trib decided to take a picture of me shaking the hands of all the cops. And so I got put on page 3 of the Chicago Trib for getting the encampments cleared out. Well, afterwards, a lot of the Jewish community came to me and said, "Hey, Dick Durbin's abandoned us. He's letting all this hate and anti-Semitism run wild. We feel politically homeless. But we saw what you did. We trust you. Can you run?" Yeah, sure. And that's how it happened. Yeah.
Well, I have to compliment you on a ton of things. First of all, if you haven't figured out, I'm Jewish. And I followed that very, very closely. As a matter of fact, I also do keynote speaking across the country, and one of my topics is how to combat anti-Semitism and racism. So, good on you, man. That was freaking awesome. And then we have something else in common. You are the director of security in the hospitality industry.
Yes.
That's how I started my career. I was the director of security at a couple different Chicago area hospitals. That's a little different than a hotel, but it is a temporary stay. But it's still hospitality industry. And so I totally can envision everything that you just said, which was very crystal clear. I was going to ask you about PTSD, but the last thing I want to do is re-traumatize anyone. So if I'm off base on this, you say I don't want to talk about it. Cool. Was there a specific incident, or was it all the cumulative stress and military being on duty 18 hours a day and all that stuff? Or was there a specific incident that may have caused PTSD? Or I don't know.
After years of working through it, I think it's a combination of both. And to go back a second, you said, well, if it's off limits or whatever, just tell me, hey, that's not cool. Now, I will say I was giving a speech, I forget where, but last week, and some guy asked me, hey, have you killed anyone? That's not something you ask a veteran, ever.
No.
Or a cop for that matter. To say a specific incident, I have a couple incidents that were narrowed down in my mind where I think that may have been it, and then also generally overall as well, because my PTSD, to be honest with you, it'll manifest in several different ways. Usually it's almost like a survivor's guilt kind of type thing, and then hypervigilance, and then I haven't had it in years, but very violent, vivid dreams, and then sometimes when I was awake, I'd have auditory hallucinations of combat.
Right.
So,
okay. Well, hey, I'm glad you got the help that you need, or getting the help that you need. I want to dive in on something that everybody loves, which is dogs. I'm sorry that your doggy passed away. I'm an animal lover. I have a dog. And I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive on that, because that's really an area of passion that you have and you share with a lot of people. Are you going to be, or did you get another therapy? I'm going to screw up the word. I was going to say therapy dog or companion. I'm screwing. Service dog. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. So, there is a difference between service dogs and then therapy, companion, or emotional support animals. Service dogs are trained to they have to be able to do at least 3 tasks or services, if you will, for you, as opposed to just be there to pet or whatever. I've talked about getting another one, because some days not only do I miss the companionship, but she would bring me back to reality sometimes when times got tough. Now, I haven't had to deal with that lately. I love to be proactive, but I'd also like to be positive in thinking that maybe I don't need, but right. I don't know. I've looked into it, but I haven't
Pulled the
haven't
trigger,
committed.
ha ha
Yeah.
ha, so to speak.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my that's my dad joke right in there, and I have plenty of them. Okay, so what were the 3 tasks that your service dog helped you with?
She helped me with several things. One, in crowds, she provided me a safety bubble, if it will,
Okay.
because she was a German Shepherd, and for some reason people think German Shepherds are like the, I don't know, mean, evil attack dogs.
Right.
I don't know why, but people would keep their space. So that helped me with hypervigilance. Excuse me. I would sometimes like zone out, like I don't know how to describe it. Like I wouldn't have flashbacks. I would just like zone out and like
Daydream.
check out of reality.
Yep.
Nah, and she would put her head on my lap and be like, "Hey, come back," and I'd start petting her. And then another one was when I was having a nightmare. She would jump up and like lay down on me and be like, "Hey, it's okay,"
Nice.
So, and she had a couple other tasks like
get me a beer from the fridge. I'm totally kidding.
It's funny. No, I tried to teach her that, but I wasn't a great teacher. But no, she reminded me to take my meds. So close.
Dogs are just so amazing. I mean, and you worked with them with Scars and Stripes, so I'm just thoroughly impressed and actually elated that I can meet someone that really shares a passion that I do. One of the things that, and I was going to ask you why run for office. You explained that, the whole DePaul thing you were asked to run. So I'm not going to ask you that because you covered it. So one of the hot topics today is immigration, illegals, and I actually, and I'll share this with you after I ask the question, I have in my mind an ideal solution, but it might not be so ideal. Can you explain, and you've been through this, what is the process for legal immigration?
So depending on what type of visa that a person applies for, the timelines vary, but I have experience with a K-1 visa, so a spousal visa, and the timeline it varies, but it usually takes about 1.5 years-ish to 2 years, and that's a long time for most family visas are about the same time. That's a long time to reunite, and they're not allowed to come and visit while you're going through that because understandably they think that perhaps there's an ulterior motive. Hey, you're going to stay here and overstay your visa, this, that, and the other. But there's, oh my goodness, it's a lengthy process, but there's a lot of paperwork involved. So you have to petition for the visa. You have to, since you're sponsoring someone, you have to show that you're financially able to, so they're not a drain on society. They have to get a medical background check. They have to interview with their consulate or embassy, whichever they're closest to. And yet that finally there's like fingerprinting and whatnot, and then finally they get to come here, and it goes through so many different offices. And so I'm curious to see if your idea to better the process is the same as mine. So I, like most conservatives, I'm against a larger government, and with all the downsizing going on, though, why not take some of those people and slide them over into the immigration office and have them do the background checks? Because that is what takes the longest. My goodness, they have like 3 people working, 10,000 cases.
Right.
So, and that to me makes a little bit more sense to still have a thorough background check, but to expedite the process so family members aren't separated for years at a time.
My solution more has to do with illegal aliens.
And,
and I'd love your opinion on this. So I think that if someone is in the country illegally and they don't have a criminal record, they're a good person, they're here to legitimately better their family, and they're working and they're busting their butts, I think that they should have a finite amount of government support. And in my head, that's 3 months until they get on their feet. And then have a requirement for people to stay. You either have to get a job or volunteer in the community, and have training along the way. Training on customer service, learning English, because now I guess English is our national language. All these little things that would help them integrate into society. Of course, if somebody is a dirtbag, they should be sent back. So what do you think? And you don't have to use the word dirtbag. That's one of my favorite words.
Well, I think that's an interesting take on it. I'm not for illegal immigration whatsoever. I understand that in some cases people don't have the option. For instance, like a child born here illegally.
Right.
You know, they were here, and I kind of understand why you'd want to make some sort of accommodation for that. And I don't have a firm opinion on that one way or the other. But when it comes to grown men crossing the border illegally, I get some of them are here for a better life, to send money back home. Before politics, I ordered Uber Eats, and they didn't speak English, and I used a translator, Google Translate,
right.
And they were like, "Yeah, I'm from Ecuador. I'm only here for about 6 months. I'm coming here to send money back home. I'm a lawyer back home in Ecuador, but I need money for my family." And I'm like, part of you, your heart reaches out. You want to be like, "Yeah, I get it, man. That must be rough." But on the other hand, is that legal? No, it's not legal.
Right.
Where do you draw the line? That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. It's a complex issue, and I also think we should secure the border. I'm just talking about the people that are already here. Don't let anyone else in unless they go through the legal process, which obviously needs revamping.
Well, yes, and for the ones that are still here, or that are here illegally, by all means, I'm all for getting all the violent criminals, the gang members, etc., whatever bad players are here, getting them out of the country, and then whatever's left, like as you said, the people that have been here for 14 years, that
right.
Work in a little bakery, a panaderia, or whatever, or some guy that's, I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but cutting grass or framing houses or something. Then I think we could have that conversation. But I think we need to focus on the bad players first.
Fair enough. And I don't remember if I was recording when we said this, but you mentioned either right before the show or at the beginning, I'm just a regular guy running for office. So I would love to get your opinion on term limits for non-presidential positions, senators, representatives, etc.
I love it. So, yeah, I am just an average guy. I tell people that all the time. I'm just a guy. And I tell people that I didn't want to do this. I was asked to do this. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. I'm a man of my word. Win or lose, I'm going to give it my all. But I don't want to be a lifetime politician. We're not our founding fathers didn't want that. And frankly, I don't think we need that. I'm all for term limits. Personally, mine will be self-imposed. I want 2 terms and that's it. I want to go home, watch ESPN, drink some beer, and hang out with my dogs. I do have a dog. He's not a service dog. He's just a regular loving puppy. I've actually been working with Convention of States to try and get petitions signed to hold a Convention of States to make an amendment to impose term limits on Congress and Senate, because it's something I think we need. We need to prevent people from staying there 40, 50 years. My goodness, Dick Durbin's been in federal office since I was 2.
Right.
That's not okay. Our founding fathers wanted someone to go into a term or 2, then go back home. And they wanted the average person to do it, not just lawyers, politicians, whatever. They wanted to have equal representation from all aspects of society. I think, personally, a Senate shouldn't be there more than 2 terms. 3 tops. 3, because that's 18 years. That's a long time if you think about it. That's a normal career. And Congress, I believe that Congress should have term limits imposed as well, somewhere between the 12 and 18-year mark as well. I believe that the actual length of time should be determined by the people, not by me. But those are just my ideas on the matter. As far as when it comes to Supreme Court, they're for life, and I understand why they're there for life. But I think that there should be some limit on that as well, because, and I'm not being ageist when I say this, I have no problem with people who are older. Heck, my parents are older. But as we saw with the Biden administration, at a certain point, mental acuity starts to decline. So I think that there should be some sort of mental fit test for public office after a certain age.
Interesting. I don't disagree with that. I think that should also be the case for police officers as well. I think they should. No, and I'm being serious. I think that they should be psychologically tested at certain period times within their career, because, and I'm not trying to make light of what happened to you, but cops do have PTSD and CTSD, cumulative stress disorder, and their attitudes change.
No, I agree. And you and I discussed prior to the show what I call the cop mentality.
Right,
and
right.
It becomes, excuse me, it's because all the negative and whatnot that you have to deal with, your psyche kind of becomes calloused. And
Right.
From my experience, at least I can speak from my perspective, became a more negative person and started expecting negative out of people because that's all I dealt with.
Right.
And it took me, my goodness, it took me probably a decade to unlearn that.
I have the police command and control voice, and my wife is slowly teaching me how to not use that tone in non-emergency situations. It's just the way I speak. I can't help it. So,
yeah, I tend to have my cop voice too.
Yeah,
whenever,
happens.
so
Are you ready to take charge of your personal safety? Every month, Firearm Mentor offers Illinois concealed to carry classes designed to give you the knowledge, skills, and confidence to protect yourself and your loved ones. Whether you're new to firearms or looking for a refresher, our professional instructors break it down, laws, safety, and hands-on training, so you leave prepared and informed. Concealed to carry classes are held monthly, making it easy to fit into your schedule. And when you train with Firearm Mentor, you're not just checking a box. You're joining a community built on responsibility, safety, and confidence. Don't wait. Reserve your seat today at www.firearmmentor.com/classes. That's firearmmentor.com/classes. Firearm Mentor. Smart training. Safe choices.
I would never run for office, but let's just say I'm a career guy, I'm in business. How can I actually run for office, be away from my money making, and then return 2 years, 6 years, 4 years later? How can I don't think the system's set up for that. What are your thoughts on that?
well, I don't know that the system is set up for that either, because in order to, I believe in that's what helps create career politicians, because you have people that get into politics, whether it be through consulting or staffing or whatever, young, and then they run for whatever county board and then
Right.
work their way up. So they end up being career politicians. You're right. But myself, I live off my veterans pension.
Right.
So I live a meager life. I do. It pays for my rent and my car payment, and so, but the average person who is working, let's say, working at McDonald's flipping burgers, all of a sudden one day was like, hey, I want to run for office. Well, one, I found that statewide office, my goodness, is a task and a half. There's no way you can hold a job and run for a statewide office. Right. It's impossible. So unless you're a millionaire and you can, afford to hire people to do everything for you. Smaller local offices are more available. I tell people everywhere I go, I think whenever I do my speeches, I always thank the PCs. The PCs are the backbone of the Republican Party. They do a lot of the work, and it's normal average people that want to get involved in politics in their community and help, but they have jobs and whatnot. And all it is for those of you who don't know, because I didn't know what a PC was, and a lot of people don't. It's a precinct, depending on where you're at, precinct chairman, precinct committeeman. So let's just say it's the maps of the districts and whatever are broken up into different precincts. So let's just say a neighborhood to make it simple. So a PC will go and they'll interact with everyone in their neighborhood. They'll go knocking on doors. Hey, yeah, wanted to let you know we got elections coming up. Hey, yeah, these are the candidates. Right. And not necessarily promoting a particular candidate, but saying, hey, this is who's running for office. These are the pros and cons or whatever, this person, that person. And this get the community involved because we need more voter engagement. So
Right.
I'll give you two statistics real quick that proves this. And this blew my mind when I found it out. Illinois, people say it's a deep blue state. It's not. It's actually a red state.
Chicago is a deep blue state.
You think that too. But, so, here, this statistic will blow your mind. Cook County, which I understand isn't Chicago, but Chicago encompasses a lot of it, right? So, Cook County is the second most populous county in America, but it has the most registered Republicans of any county in America.
Interesting. I did not know that.
And it constitutes for 42% of the vote of the state. So, if we can get PCs to go and door knock and talk to their neighbors, make like it's 1965 with a Jell-O mold with the fruit in it or whatever, and be like, hey, you know, we can actually flip. Chicago, I don't think will ever flip. I don't, realistically. But we can make it purple. And we can flip this entire state just by pulling another 10% out of Cook County. So, but then the rest of the counties, they're pretty red, believe it or not.
I believe it. It's more rural.
And so, yeah, if we can get PCs, only about half the PCs in Illinois are filled. They're open.
Okay.
So that's part of the problem. So we need to get people who want to get involved to go and get out there and talk to their neighbors, talk to their, you know, where they go to church or where they go, I don't know, grocery shopping or whatever, and be like, hey, consolidated elections were back in April. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't know, those are the positions that are your school board, so they control what happens in your schools and to your kids' minds. And two, those are the ones that ultimately determine your property taxes. Most school boards and most county boards and township boards and whatever up here are blue, and that's why we have high property taxes. And it's because also only about 10% of Republicans show up for consolidated elections. That's it.
Wow. I had no idea. That's very, very interesting.
I didn't until I got involved in this. Wow. And so, like I say, I'm just a guy. I'm an average person, and I can relate to the average person. So that's why I'm saying these things. These things I didn't know. And it blows my mind that the Republican Party as a whole doesn't look at this and say, hey, we have a huge gap here. Let's correct it.
So what you're saying is that if we can get more voter engagement, that will overpower the deceased Democrats who are still voting. I'm messing around. I'm totally stupid.
No, and I'm not. I'm 100%. You're 100% correct.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.